Here we go. We're on chapter 9 now of My Father's Dragon. The last chapter we saw that Elmer Elevator ran into a gorilla and he needed one of the items from his knapsack. Do you remember what he needed? To help get rid of the fleas and allowing my father or Elmer to escape to go look for the dragon. Chapter 9 is called My Father Makes a Bridge. And that was the fleas that he used. They looked at, the magnifying glasses were used to find the fleas on the big gorilla. Chapter 9, My Father Makes a Bridge. My father walked back and forth along the bank, trying to think of some way that he could cross the river. He found a high flagpole with a rope going over to the other side. The rope went through a loop at the top of the pole, and then down the pole and around there was a large crank. So it kind of pulled a rope around a pole, and then they would crank it. A sign on the crank said, "To summon the dragon, yank the crank and report any disorderly conduct to the gorilla." From what the cat had told my father, he knew that the other end of the rope was tied around the dragon's neck. And he felt sorrier than ever for that poor baby dragon. If he were on this side, the gorilla would twist his wings until it hurt so much that he'd have to fly to the other side. And if the baby dragon were on the other side, the gorilla would crank the rope until the dragon would either choke to death or fly to this side. What a life for a poor baby dragon. My father knew that if he called to the dragon to come across the river, the gorilla would surely hear him. So he thought about climbing the pole and going across the river. The pole was very high though, and even if he could get to the top without being seen, he'd have to go all the way across, like hand by hand on the rope to get to the other side. The river was very muddy, and all sorts of unfriendly things lived in it. But my father could think of no other way to get across. He was about to start up the pole when, despite all the noise that those monkeys were making, he heard a loud splash behind him, and he looked all around in the water. But it was dusk now. The sun was going down, and he couldn't see that there was anything there. "It's me, Crocodile," said a voice to the left of him. "The water is lovely, and I have such a craving for something sweet. Won't you come in for a swim?" said Crocodile. Well, there was a pale moon that came out behind a cloud, and that allowed my father to see where the voice was coming from. The crocodile's head was peeping out of the water. "Oh, no thank you," said my father. "I never swim after sundown. But I have something sweet to offer you. Perhaps you would like a lollipop. And perhaps maybe you have some friends that would like a lollipop too." "Lollipops? Lollipops? Why, that is a treat. How about it, boys? Come on." A whole chorus of voices shouted, "Hooray, lollipops!" And my father counted as many as 17 crocodiles with their heads just peeping out of the water waiting for a lollipop. That's fine, said my father as he got out the 24 pink lollipops. Now remember, 24. 1 dozen is how many? Like 1 dozen of eggs? 12. So 24 is 12 plus 12. That makes, you can go write it down, 12 plus 12 if you want to stop the video. But 12 plus 12 is 24 pink lollipops. So he has enough for the 17 crocodiles. So I'm going to stick one lollipop in the bank of the river, said my father. And now one of you can have this one, he said. The crocodile who had spoken to him swam up and tasted it. Delicious! This is mighty delicious, he said. Now, if you don't mind, said my father, I'm going to walk just along your back and fasten the other lollipop to the tip of your tail with a rubber band. Remember, he has some rubber bands left. You don't mind, do you? Oh, no, not the least, said the crocodile. Can you get your tail out of the water just a little bit, said my father. Yes, of course, said the crocodile, and he lifted his tail up. Then my father ran along his back and fastened another lollipop with a rubber band on the second crocodile's tail. Who's next? Who's next? Said my father. And a second crocodile, or third crocodile, swam up and began sucking that crocodile's lollipop. Now, you gentlemen can save a lot of time if you just line up across the river, said my father, and I'll give and I will be along to give you each a lollipop. So the crocodiles lined up across the river with their tails in the air, waiting for my father to fasten on all the lollipops. The tail of the 17th crocodile reached the other side of the river for my father. So this is kind of what it looks like. He's fastening a lollipop on the crocodile's tail, and then they all get in a line so he can walk across them kind of like a bridge. All right, so that's the lollipops that we can mark off. He only used 17 though, so I'm going to change this to 17. So we are on 13 oranges, 17 lollipops are left. Wait, he used 17. So we actually have 7 left. Sorry, Miss Tina did the math for you really quick. 24 take away 17 leaves 7 lollipops left. Okay, that's the end of chapter 9. We only have one more chapter to go to see if Elmer Elevator or the father rescues the baby dragon. So I hope you look forward to the last chapter, chapter 10. It's coming next. Bye-bye.